Guys, so today we will be reading a book called The Adventures of Noah and Sabu Mornings with Grandma. So today we will be having an adventure with Noah and Sabu. Let's find out in the book. The Adventures of Noah and Sabu Mornings with Grandma. Written by Betty Gabra Hewitt, illustrated by Debbie Heflick. One Friday morning, Noah and Sabu laid in bed and stared at the ceiling. Every morning they listened to their parents getting ready as the sun came up. That's when their mom and dad came to kiss them before going off to work. So if you've seen the image and if you have the book, does it look like Noah and Sabu staring at the ceiling? No, they were closing their eyes and sleeping. So maybe the text had been mistaken, or they just wanted to add that. The next page says, the day has officially started, and Noah and Sabu are ready for today's adventure. But first things first, breakfast with Grandma. Grandma woke up and gave Noah and Sabu a big hug and a million kisses. She loves spending the day with her twin grandchildren. Although they usually have a daily adventure, Grandma wasn't sure the weather would allow for that day. So if we look, maybe the text is correct. Grandma wasn't sure if the weather would allow for that day. Because if you see in the image, it is raining. So they might go outside. Let's find out. Noah and Sabu headed to the kitchen with Grandma and set the table while Grandma made pancakes. Noah and Sabu loved pancakes and had them every morning. Grandma wasn't a fan and ate her own foods. Noah and Sabu weren't a fan of her choices of breakfast either. So if you look, two people, which is Noah and Sabu, are eating pancakes, but Eddie is eating like a type of chicken or kitfo. If you know kitfo, it's a type of Ethiopian food that you can eat. During breakfast, the rain started to come down hard. Today we stay at home, said Grandma. Why, blurted Noah and Sabu together. It's too cold and rainy. You'll get sick, said Grandma. But we have our rain boots and jackets, cried Noah. And umbrellas, said Sabu. Noah and Sabu ran to their room and came back with their raincoats, rain boots, and umbrellas to make sure Grandma understood. Grandma did understand, but she didn't want her grandchildren to get sick, though. Maybe because my brother, he told me once that he had a lot, when he went out, he was nice, but then next when he came back home, he was sneezing and sneezing and sneezing. That causes sickness too. Noah and Sabu's grandma spoke a different language. It was the same language as their parents, but Noah and Sabu didn't understand it much. Grandma, please, said Noah. Eddie, replied Grandma. Eddie, please, said Noah, correcting himself. Grandma didn't like when Noah and Sabu called her Grandma. She wanted her grandchildren to call her Eddie, which meant Grandma in her language. Sometimes Noah and Sabu forgot, but she always corrected them. If you see the image where the text is, you might see thunder and lightning. So that means they can't go outside, but that doesn't match the drawing. The drawing just shows some wind, leaves, and rain. See, maybe drawings and text are different. Eddie, we don't want to stay inside. We want to play at the park, added Sabu. Okay, said Eddie, but first we have Buna time. and then we'll see if the rain stops. How about you help me with Puna time? Noah and Sabu looked at each other and smiled. They were excited about helping their AD with her daily ritual of making coffee making. It was a long process that they enjoyed watching every morning, but this time they get to actually help. Well, Buna time means coffee time. So Noah and Sabu are gonna help Grandma make coffee. I sometimes help my mom make coffee. And if you want to know, it's a secret in the book. Whoo! I know that traditional coffee pour. Eddie begins to slowly get the pieces to her coffee set out of the pantry. They were safe in there from flying balls and toys. Noah and Sabu waited patiently for instructions from Eddie. They knew how important the funny-shaped pieces were to her, so they didn't rush. If you see in the picture, and if you see a coffee pourer, just don't say coffee pourer. Say Jebena. Repeat after me. Jebena. Good job. Let's read the next page. One by one, AD handed Noah and Sabu a cup. Noah and Sabu grabbed the cups with two hands and pretended to drink with them. They looked at each other and clinked them together with excitement. Cheers, clink. If you see in the picture, there's a word that says clink. But that's not how we usually do it in our language. All we do is we pray, then we give bless to the coffee, even for food, and then we drink it. Or usually we just drink it. Slowly, Noam, Sabu, and AD brought each piece of the coffee set to the living room and got excited for the fun part, roasting the beans. If you guys don't know what roasting the beans means, is like doing this with a pan, a roasting pan. And if you guys know it, it's called mankaskasha in Tigrinya. But in our language, it's called mankaskasha. So you use that to roast the beans with fire. Adi gave Noah and Sabu a handful of coffee beans to put into the roasting pan called a mankashkash in Tigrinya. She placed the roasting pan over the burner and began to shake it slowly to cook the beans. It was the sound of Buna time, and Noah and Sabu gathered around her, eager to help. Eager means excited. Usually when my mom makes coffee, it smells so good. Even if you have an Ethiopian mom, and if you're Ethiopian and your mom cooks coffee, you might smell the good Buna. One by one, Grandma let Noah and Sabu sit on her lap and hold the handle of the roasting pan. When it was Noah's turn to sit on Grandma's lap, he got so excited that he shook the handle too hard and made the coffee beans jump out of the pan. Grandma and Sabu jumped and started to laugh. Usually in our culture, we don't shake it too hard when we get so excited. What we usually do is just cook it slowly so it doesn't go out. But if we want stuff to get out, we put it in the sink and do this. There's a hole inside there and you'll see some stuff going out. Go slow, Noah, said Grandma with a smile on her face. No faster, squeaked Noah. It's my turn now, said Sabu as she started to run out of patience. You can help me grind the beans next, said Grandma. Yay, yelled Sabu. She wasn't sure how to grind the beans, but wanted to make sure to sound more excited than Noah did during his turn. Noah looked over at her curious. He wanted to know how to grind the beans too. See? In your culture, if you see a woven mat, that means you do this on it. After roasting the coffee beans, Grandma walked around the room, shaking the roasting pan to let the smell of coffee get everywhere. She stopped at Noah and Sabu and let them smell the coffee as they waved it towards their smiling faces. Finally, Grandma poured the beans onto a small and colorful woven mat. If you guys know what a woven mat is, it's usually covered in like a party hat, but you open it and then next you do this with the mankush. Can I grind the beans now, Eddie? Asked Sabu. Yes, we could grind the beans, said Grandma. I want to grind the beans too, yelled Noah. No, it's my turn, shrieked Sabu as she jumped into Eddie's lap to secure her place. Noah looked over with arms crossed over his chest and wondered what the next step will be, which means like this. Grandma filled the grinder with coffee beans and let Sabu push the button. Sabu giggled as her hands began to vibrate from the grinder. She loved the sound of the coffee beans being broken down as they went from screeching high sound to a dull low sound. Eddie says that's when the beans are ready. So if you know what a grinder sounds like, it's like woo, 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 woo. I help my mom grind the beans too. It's my turn now. What's next? Asked Noah. It looks like powder now, Eddie, said Sabu. Eddie giggled. Yes, it does, she said. Noah and Sabu watched with a surprise as Grandma put the powdered coffee beans into the woven mat, onto the woven mat, folded it into a funnel shape, and somehow got all the powder into her funny-shaped pot. Grandma called it jebena. Each time it was like magic. So if you want to know what jebena looks like, it looks like this. This is a jebena. My turn now, yelled Noah as he ran into Grandma's lap. Grandma handed the measuring cup full of water and helped him pour it into the jebena. Noah loved this part because he had to make sure get the water into the small opening at the top of the funny pot. He was very focused and made a big mess. Great job, Noah. Let me help you pour the rest," said Grandma, full of joy. "Now it's time to cook the coffee." So Grandma put the pot on the burner. After taking a break to play with their toys, Grandma called Noah and Sabu over because the coffee was ready. Noah and Sabu recognized the smell and knew it was Buna time. She asked Noah and Sabu to sit in front of her as she poured the hot coffee from the pot. She handed them a colorful basket with their favorite breads and even gave them warm milk to share in the ceremony with her. If you see in the picture, there is a bread called ambasha. Noah and Sabu felt like grown-ups drinking out of the small cups. They giggled at each other as they mimicked their grandma's loud sips. 2 hours had gone by since they started making coffee with Grandma. Now, Noah and Sabu were getting restless and wanted to know if the rain had stopped. "Grandma, look!" yelled Noah. "The rain stopped. We can go out. Can we go out now?" "Eddie, please?" asked Sabu. "Yes, go get dressed and we'll go for a walk." Grandma was so happy she got to sit and enjoy Buna time with her grandkids. It was her favorite thing in the whole world. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed this book and read along with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell. I hope you like it. See you next time, folks.